What's up? What's up? Welcome to By the Fifth. This is your boy Roger. As of course, you know you can call me Tico. What is up? I am here with my host, my co-host Tiffany Flowers is in the house. Tiffany, how's it going today?
I am doing awesome today. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Well, I know you're feeling awesome because I know that you particularly like our guest today. Why don't you tell them about our guest?
So today joining us, we have Dee Wilson. She is one of my dear friends, one of my mentors, one of my teachers. She is the owner and founder of Deep Marketing. So if you have any social media needs, she is the one to contact. But she is joining us today, and we're so excited to have her.
All right. Dee, welcome to By the Fifth. How are you today?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Now, we're still here at Sky House Apartments. So they were very generous and let us, continue our podcast for the day. So the construction still going on?
Yes, I still see them working.
When
Yes.
is construction not happening?
Yes, but Sky House is absolutely beautiful. Very beautiful, yes, in the heart of downtown Nashville.
Yes. And so, we were watching the crane guy and he went down, but earlier there was jackhammers going. So it sounds a lot better.
I'm so glad that's over.
Yes.
So this is exciting. From what Tiffany was saying about your business, tell us just real quick, how you started this and how you got into this.
Yeah, so prior to starting my business, I was in a corporate position with my last company as the director of training and social media marketing. So just kind of wearing a couple of hats. But on the marketing side of it, I worked with a lot of different companies and vendors, just trying to find the right fits for our company and what they could offer. Everything, from social media to, responding to Google reviews and you name it. And what I kind of realized is there was a huge lack of experience, right? So not to say that a company wasn't doing the work well, but they didn't understand the language. I think we all know, anyone who's in the apartment business, like there's certain things that we don't say, words we don't use, like safe and, so on and so forth. But they don't know that, and then also the quality and the images that it just was awful. Additionally, just the content that they used was not very personalized to each community. And so when we would have our monthly calls or whatever it was, I was always just kind of telling them how to do their job. And I remember one time specifically, after a call we had with one of our vendors, and it was just the marketing team on a call together. And I remember my then supervisor and VP was like, "Hey, you stop telling them how to do their job." And I said, "Okay, it's just very frustrating." But so the idea came to me was I saw a real need in our industry, and I saw, how things were not being done correctly, and how, we were just paying companies to post things for us, but they weren't selling the community. They weren't selling the message behind the community. They weren't selling the team. They weren't selling the feeling of community, the resident events. Why do you want to live here, or the neighborhood? Just all those things that really matter, that we know from being on site, that matter to people when they're making their buying decision. And so I just thought, you know what? I see a huge need for it. There's not enough. And with the blessing of my husband, decided to just take the leap. And now we've been doing it for August was 2 years. And so I'm very excited about it.
And she does a wonderful job. We were saying earlier, it doesn't come natural to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And so when we're growing up in school, they teach you how to read, write, do math, problem solve. Mm-hmm. But there was no course in social media.
No, there's no. And surprisingly, there is now.
Right? Yeah. You will soon be a professor. Yeah. But just like with the social media, right, you can get it right and you can get it wrong. Right. And if you get it wrong, nobody will ever forget that you got it wrong.
And the internet is forever.
Yes.
Don't we know that?
So if you guys need help with your social media for your business, Deep Marketing, call her. She is awesome.
I love that name too, Deep Marketing. How'd you come up with that?
So it is my half of my full name. So I go by Dee professionally, and my friends and family call me Deep for short. And so when we were thinking of a name, the concept of like going just beyond the surface, like figuring out what someone's brand was, not just their brand, but what's their brand values, not just their brand values, but what is their voice. Everything from, the appropriate language. Do they call their, managers community managers, or are they property managers? Service technicians, maintenance supervisors, maintenance engineers, like everyone has their own, lingo. And so when we were thinking about that, the idea of kind of going beyond the surface, and it just it worked. And then it's, also my name.
I love that.
Perfect.
I love that. Yeah, because I don't even think about like you were talking about the lingo and everybody has their own, like I never thought about that, but for you, that's important.
Yeah. And I think like subconsciously, people will notice like how you build that brand. If one community and another community and they speak on that same language, like what does that say? Even when you think people don't notice, when each community under one management company is meeting a certain standard, they notice. Maybe not right away, but wait till they go to the next community and someone's like, let me show you these units and how safe it is out here and stuff like
It's about consistency, right?
How safe it is out there.
Well, I think sometimes too, for us people like me that are still learning this whole internet social media world, we try. But sometimes I think, and I'm speaking for me personally, when I try, it comes out looking like a DIY project.
Stop that.
Do it yourself.
So
I go to the Dollar Tree to buy my craft supplies. And what happens? It looks like I went to the Dollar Tree to buy my craft supplies. So if I'm posting something on social media, do I want people to be like, Tiffany shops at the Dollar Tree all the time, right? And can I get better? Absolutely. But if I need help, I need an expert to be able to reach out to, so I don't look like the DIY Dollar Tree social media project.
I love it. DIY Tiffany, though. Give me nothing less.
So I'm just saying, but that's why this is so important, because just like we say, when you meet somebody in the first, 5-10 seconds, that first impression cannot be erased.
What you just said.
So again, if my project looks like it came, and I love the Dollar Tree, y'all, so I'm just saying. But if my shout out to Dollar Tree. But if my project looks like I got all of my supplies from the Dollar Tree versus somebody that got all of their supplies from Michael's and Joanne Fabrics, or all of these other stores that may have slightly better quality, that's going to stand out to people. They're going to remember me, but they're going to remember me for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
But with that being said, why do we go to the Dollar Tree? Is it because there's a income constraint, or is it what is the thing there? So with that being said, how much time do our on-site team members have to create top-notch quality?
Time is money, right? Money is time.
Correct. And then additionally, trying to just force people into a role that they're not made for turns into DIY quality.
Yes.
All right? Like you said, you don't get to choose what post someone sees first on social. You do not get to choose. You could have a great video out there that you guys paid $1,500 to some videographer to come out and make, and you've got it on your social page, and you also have a team member posting, and they just posted a PDF as a photo, right? So
I may be guilty.
Look, we're both over here like,
No shame. No shame,
I
y'all.
feel that shit. I feel it all over me.
So our
like
next
a hooker
episode
in
will be called "How Not to Be Tiffany and Roger DIY." Thank you. Yes.
But yeah, with that being said, and having that experience of being on site, I think is very important, because if you can't relate, and if you don't have the empathy for all the things they deal with and how long their days are, then you don't get it. Yes. They have clients, sometimes I'll send them something and I'll be like, hey, there's a national day coming up. It's a great cross-marketing opportunity for us. Let me know of a good neighborhood local juice store or something, whatever, that you think that we should recommend that also has good reviews and more followers, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't hear anything back from them. That's okay. I'm not mad at them. Sometimes people just don't have the time to do that, you know? But when you have someone who you're paying to personalize that experience, you know, I can do my own research. You know, Google Maps is a real thing. Google Reviews is a real thing. I can figure out what's 5-minute walking distance from the apartment community. You know, is it franchise? Is it locally owned? You know, is it someone that we would want to partner with? Is it isn't? And make that connection.
That's such a valid point, because we were just having that conversation with Robert, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about events, how the staff sometimes are overloaded, mm-hmm. but we want them to do events too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, not only do you have to do closeout and you have to go, you know, shop another property, but we want you to do social media. Yes. We want you to plan events, and it's just a lot. And we
want you to cut the grass.
Right, cut the grass and
plant new flowers. Make a mini model.
Not just make the mini model, but paint the mini model. Like, it's all kind of stuff.
Mini model.
But you're so right. You're so right. When you have a professional like yourself who understands it, who knows it, and is going to give you the best product, mm-hmm. you know, that's the investment that you want to make, right? I mean, you're spending all this money in renovating apartments and trying to get people to come and see it.
But you can't if you can't advertise effectively.
Yes. Who's going to come?
I'm about to throw up my hands.
Uh-oh.
Like I'm in church. Okay.
She's like, Jesus, Lord.
Man, say it again.
Right. Wow. Well, I love that, you know, so be sure to reach out to Deep Marketing. What is that website, or how can they find you?
It's just www.deepmarketingllc.com. That's it, just DEEP.
All right.
And I guess we'll put that information up as well too, so if there's anyone that has needs, they'll be able to reach out to you, and she's the best. Yes. Absolutely the best.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we want to get a little deep.
All right, let's do it.
This podcast is being brought to you by Apartment Community Functions. If you need an event, let us know. We can handle it. After all, we evented it. Check us out on apartmentcommunityfunctions.com. We want to talk about what is the thing that you have experienced in business that made you want to buy the fifth.
Okay. Wow.
And we mean BUY, the fifth.
Yeah. Oh man, I can just go down a list of things. So, 20 years of doing this, and I could probably point out, and I probably have a ton of stories. So, just thinking of one, where I'm pretty sure I did go buy the fifth.
She said, I did buy the fifth.
Support local businesses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a good story for that would probably be one of the things that I think, we deal with, especially, sometimes with women. Not to say that men don't deal with it as well, but I think especially being a female, and a lot of females can relate, that, sometimes people walk in and they just don't like you, right? And, I've had these things happen to me before on site. I've had someone walk in before and literally look at me and be like, is there someone else I can speak with? Tiffany was there. Like, these things have happened.
And it doesn't help that we're barely 5'1" either.
It's right. You know what I mean?
People just kind of tend to literally just look over us.
Oh,
so
wow.
We deal with a lot, y'all. Wow. We deal with a lot.
But so, I had a new supervisor, and it's one of those things where you could just kind of tell that someone was, how can I say this, just not interested in you, right? Okay. I picked up on that very quickly. And so when she started, she was in one role, and then it was planned that she would eventually become my supervisor, which was fine. I understand change happens, but one thing that I have never, ever, I guess, questioned was my work, my quality of work, what kind of worker I am. You know, I feel very confident in saying a lot of the times I'm one of the hardest working people in the room. Tiffany can tell you, I worked up until one day before I had my daughter. I never stopped, and I even became paralyzed with one hand. So, like, I just kind of lost feeling, but I never stopped, you know, and I was that person who was leaving on a very large community in the middle of summer. But every lease that I already had lease paperwork done, files put together, key packets made, move-in packets. I've always been that person. So even when I was in my corporate role, I also was that person. And I gave a lot of grace to our teams because that's what they needed, right? And as a person in a training situation, I always knew, like, I needed to be the person everyone felt comfortable with. So if they had an issue, I always want someone to feel, you know, like they could come to me. Yes. So I worked hard in those things. So with the new supervisor, I kind of had to choose one side. So originally, like I said, I was doing, you know, director of training and social media, and they really wanted me to stay in the training department. So I was like, okay, no problem. So here I take on a new supervisor. And within, I don't know, a very short amount of time of the change in supervision, we were also changing our payroll system. So I had this connected to our LMS, right, where we had a nightly report that ran every night, and it did this because, and anyone who knows in our industry, as soon as someone starts, it's vital that they take certain classes, right? Like fair housing, sexual harassment, like don't answer the phone, can't show an apartment, like you paralyzing these people, right? Until they can do that. And so I had this set up so that there was no delays. As soon as someone was ran through our payroll, our LMS created an account for them. And based on their role that was assigned by payroll, they were assigned their introductory classes. So I came to her, I said, hey, I know we're changing this thing. This is very important. Let me know how I can help. I worked with the last company to connect our nightly report and all this stuff. And she was like, yeah. And I said it to her again. And sure enough, she, it just as if refused to allow me to help, refused to ask for help, started the new system and basically broke our LMS. And so everything was wrong with it at this point. So I am attempting, right? And I've got people emailing me and telling me what's going on here and can you fix this? And so, at one point, like, I just have to become vocal. And I tell one of my VPs, I'm like, hey, I told her this. I told her, let me help you. Let's not break things. Like, why won't she let me help? And he was like, I don't know. Like, I'm so sorry, but can you just please fix this? And as always, I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. So I take it on, I fix that. And then slowly but surely, she starts taking work away from me. Like, hey, this thing that you were over, I'm now going to have someone else do that. And she was literally saying things to me like, you've got too much on your plate. Right? And I'm sitting over here and I'm like, damn, you taking everything away. I'm going to have an empty plate. Like, this bitch going to be hungry. Please put something on my plate. Stop taking things from me. Oh, God. And so the whole time I'm aggravated because I'm a worker. Uh-huh. I'm not someone who just sits around. And I'm very solution oriented. So the moment that there's an issue, I start thinking about how do we fix this, right? Like, what do we need to do? So with that, I can kind of see, and I have people coming to me and telling me that she's telling them not to come to me, And I'm like starting to voice these things to people in upper management. And I'm like not really understanding Go ahead.
And I was going to ask you, so this is all in one office? How many people are working in this office?
Depends on the day, right?
Yeah, I guess you got a point.
I would say probably around 60, I think is fair. Might even...
But how many people does payroll affect? Hundreds.
Right.
Hundreds of people.
Right. What's that energy like in...
Oh, let me... Our payroll lady left.
Oh no.
Everybody was bouncing. They were like, "I'm resigning. It's time for me to retire."
I like how you said. What was the energy?
That was a great question.
Right.
She left.
That's the energy.
She's gone. Period.
It was zapped.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like she knew it before anyone knew it.
Wow.
I could tell, And the thing was, is there were so many long-term people that were leaving.
Wow.
So this is that reminder, that one bad apple. Right? You had all these workhorses who cared about the actual foundation of this company, cared about the people of this company. And you have one person come in and starts pushing all these people out.
Wow.
And said new supervisor, her energy was just very, very entitled. She had no experience in multifamily. None.
So I just want to let our listeners and viewers know that lots of times when people will come to get an apartment, they will comment, it's easier to buy a car than it is to get an apartment. And it actually is. But kind of the background behind that is what a lot of people don't understand. We have laws that we have to follow.
Yes.
And these laws were enacted because of discrimination that happened. And basically they're called fair housing laws.
Yes.
But that way people are ensured that they can have a place to live and not be discriminated against.
Yes.
So if you're not aware of these laws and these policies and stuff, you are absolutely right. You can go buy a car easier than you can get a place to live. So yeah, kind of the background there, like Dee was saying, that this professional did not have that background, and we have to adhere by these things every single day. Right. So yeah, really important. Really
Good
important.
point. Great point.
So most I think mature adults would realize that. They would say, I know I'm walking into this new industry that I know nothing about. Let me take any and all the assistance I can, right?
Yes.
But sometimes I think people they're a little bit more subjective as to who they're going to take assistance from. I think sometimes, and again, as women, sometimes certain women are like, oh, I'll take some feedback and assistance from you, but not from you, not for nothing.
Oh, wow.
But for what? For why, right? Like, but I could tell that it bothered her that I knew a lot more than her as far as like our industry goes. So she would bring certain things up and I'd be like, no, we can't do that. Like, there's a reason why this is important, or she was coming up with ideas about like pre-hiring people that we could potentially put in different, situations. Like if we had an employee that just left or this, that, and the other. And I was like, sure, you can try that, but like everyone's not made for one position. Right. Not everyone is supposed to be, a leasing professional.
Yes.
Not everyone should be a property manager. Like, let's just go down that road. And I was just like, but the idea seems great, and of course I'm sure. And let this be said. I mean, I also knew this was my new supervisor. I spoke carefully. Yes. I chose my words wisely. I was not disrespectful. I might have went home and pounded some fists, but you know what I mean? Like,
support small businesses.
Right.
Go pick that fifth
That's
up.
right.
Now, were you very respectful, and then 5 o'clock, clock out, you got in your car? What did you say to her in your car?
Raged. Just raged.
Yes.
Just so upset. Not just because of me, but because of how she was affecting so much progress that had been made. We set up these systems, we did these things, don't just come in here and start breaking things, And then additionally, and I'm sure all people feel this way, especially when you're a professional, like, use me, like, I'm not dumb. Stop bypassing me and acting like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But it's just one of those things. Sometimes I think a lot of it has to do with the way you look sometimes. Don't be pretty and smart. You don't get to be both. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, especially the higher you get. And I'm telling you, I have felt that. And, the other thing was, so many people loved me. And I knew that.
The jealousy was running thick.
It was just rampant. Like, anything and everything that she could do to put me just, in a uncomfortable situation. And I really started to realize which way that was going when she was setting up trainings at different communities that were not even in the state, and literally having that communication and communicating it to everyone but me.
Oh, wow.
So now here comes the day of. Dee doesn't show up.
Oh.
And I'm just sitting here. I'm literally sending emails to my VP going, am I in the twilight zone? Someone help me.
Right.
I am screaming for help. And don't say it wasn't communicated, because, Lord, it was communicated. Okay? And again, I'm not brand new to this, and I also was not brand new to being in a corporate position. My first big girl job in my life was working and assisting with the startup of the Tennessee Education Lottery. Okay? I've dealt with a lot of assholes out there.
Right.
I can deal with an asshole.
Right.
No problem. And I also understand that I don't have to like everyone I work with.
Right.
But I can still walk in. I can still be friendly, supportive, assist you. I can, however, because the common goal should be the company. It should be the success of the team members.
Yes.
Not whatever vendetta you have against me that you created in your own head, right? Which was essentially what was happening.
Right.
And so I had one moment where I was like, I'm about to be at a breaking point. When I tell you this regional of this property where I didn't show up for training contacts me and goes, you were never on this email. You were never on this invite. Do you have a separate email about? And I was like, no, like, when I tell you, I had no clue. And so here's the other thing. When I had a training scheduled, I would put it in our LMS. So it would show up on the training schedule, right? So it wasn't even there. It was just something that she scheduled. And the regional goes, I'm sending you a screenshot. And I said, no, I believe you. And she goes, no, I'm sending you the screenshot. You need this screenshot. And I was like, okay, yes, you're right. Thank you. And that was the moment I was like, I'm a target.
Wow.
I got a big old target on my back, and no one can tell me otherwise, even though they did.
Oh.
Even though they did. They kept saying, there's no target on your back. There's no target on your...
And I was going to say one thing that we've talked about before that I think sometimes people forget. Everyone is human.
That's right.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. Everyone is human.
Yes.
And I think we all just need to, like, sometimes sit back and just reflect and be like, what I can do or what I do can totally affect somebody else
outside of this workplace
that is also a human. So when I hear your story, and again, like I said a million times, we're all human, but you just don't know what somebody else is going through. And so you may see their outwards appearance and you make up these stories. And I hope all of these stories are like cupcakes with sprinkles on top.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're still human.
Right.
Yes.
And thank God for small businesses that you can go get that
fifth.
that fifth, right? Let's play a game. How many times can we say the fifth, a fifth? But you know what I mean? It's
Take
like
a drink of the fifth.
right. But that stuff, it's important, no matter, our listeners and viewers, they could be working in all different types of industries, but just that part of that story that you were telling, I just hope people take away, we are all human.
And we all deserve respect.
Yes,
The janitor
100%.
to the CEO.
100%.
And if you're not living your life like that, I just, and I want to say you'll never be successful, but you will.
And we'll leave it there, period.
And so I'm done.
Noted.
Period. Yeah.
Noted. So, well, tell me this. You're going through this. You see this. You're not on this email. How are you feeling? Because when you're working your tail off, when you're putting your all in it, and something like this can really affect you. You know what I mean? Like after work.
You got a couple of choices, right? Got a couple of choices you got to make.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How are you dealing with that, like later, like at home? And
Hard.
Really?
I mean, coming home crying to my husband, like literally feeling like I'm going insane because, of course, everyone above her is like, no, everything, you're fine. Like, nothing's happening, But, like, I literally have someone treating me like garbage. And, there's anxiety. I loved my job. And I cared. No one cared more than I cared. I cared so much. And, I cared for people so much that, when they were having a difficult time at their workplace, I can't tell you how many times.
You're trying to figure out, how do I make this better? How do I make this better? How do I make this better?
Or someone's telling me that they're not being treated right. And I'm like, I'm going to take care of this. Right. Like one girl paid for her own certification course. And I was like, no, ma'am. I don't know. I cared, and what happened was I started to feel like I shouldn't care. And that's what happens, right? Like you start to disconnect. Now came the Sunday scaries.
Oh, those are real.
That I never had before. And when you have this target on your back, everything you do, you feel like matters, right? Yes. And you feel like you're under this microscope and someone's judging and even though you do a good job, like you're just like, you can't mess up, And I'll just say this. I'm a person of color. That's not new to me. Right. I've always realized I can't make the mistakes other people can make. I've always realized that. And so, now I have this new female supervisor and I'm doing the exact same thing I've always done my entire life, but just walking that tightrope just a little bit tighter. And, we all have a breaking point. That's what I'll say. And so eventually it came to, her forcing me into the office when I was mainly work from home. And I actually surrendered my office when our company was growing. So it's not like I didn't have a place. They told me, hey, would you mind working from home, because X, Y, Z? Yeah. And I said, yeah, no problem. And I also, again, realized evolution happens, right? Like things evolve. She's a new supervisor. Everything's not always going to stay the same.
That's a wrap on this episode. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. In the second half of our talk with Dee from Deep Marketing, we'll dive into her powerful journey from being targeted at work to turning that experience into the fuel for launching her own business. You do not want to miss it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The name is Trent, Roger Trent, but you can call me Tico. What's up?